Greetings, friends. So begins the season finale of BDSM, Boys Discussing Some Movies. I'm Alex. These are the boys. You know them by now, but I'm going to introduce us anyway. Indy on the end there. There's Edgar. There's Val here. Alex. And the one with the majestic hair is Michael.
Hey.
Well, you tied yours back.
Yeah.
Michael was...
No, his hair is better than mine. We all know that. It's fun.
Yeah. So, yeah, as I said, this is the season finale. We're all very excited to have gotten through a full season without, ripping each other's jugulars out or,
No contract disputes.
No contract disputes, yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah. Oh, they're coming.
Oh, actually, now that I think about it, no contracts.
No contracts. Also an achievement.
Well, all right.
We got a long talk ahead.
We do. Actually, I don't think it's going to be that long,
Yeah.
to be completely honest.
You can tell we're padding this because there's not much.
Says you. Look at my extensive notes.
Yes, indeed.
Michael has got something to say, so go ahead.
I mean, there are things. Well, wait. Okay. So yeah, we wanted to talk about. Okay, so it's the season finale. Today was the movie that I picked, The French Connection, and it's regarded as a classic. It's an iconic movie, and I think we have a sense of that. There are things to say that will be said. It was my pick today, and I had never seen it. Michael was the only one who had seen it.
When I was a child.
As a child, yeah.
I saw it when it came out.
Not a man-child like I am right now. I mean, an actual child.
Right. Okay. Take that one on the nose, I guess.
Yeah.
But so just as a brief summary, it's a cop film, and it's one of the iconic cop films. I mean, it's like cops in trench coats and doing like gumshoe work. I think at one point, like one of the characters actually called Gene Hackman is the lead. Gene Hackman. They called him like Dick or something. Like
I
as in
wouldn't know.
like
Couldn't hear anything.
Dick was an old word for a gumshoe or gumshoe like sleuth. Detective. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
I didn't know that.
But it's a classic. Again, it's a classic, and just the basic arch of the story. It's pretty straightforward. It's called The French Connection. There are drugs being smuggled, and it's a Frenchman. Big spoiler. I don't know. That's pretty much the arch. Like it had a car chase and
Pretty good car chase.
Yeah, the car chase wasn't bad.
Can you? Sorry, because I was lost a couple times, and
Well,
can you kind of explain like the two
audio
characters and then the
Which characters?
like a quick summary, like the main two cop.
I don't know what happened.
Oh, sure. Roy Schneider, right?
Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider.
Roy
sorry.
Schneider.
No.
Roy
Schneider.
Schneider.
Roy Schneider.
Lex-
It is Roy
Rob-
Is it
Schneider.
Schneider or
Lex-
Schneider?
Lex Luthor and Josh.
Are you asking me that because I'm the Jew in the group?
That's right.
Yes, it's Roy Schneider.
Well, there are
Yeah.
some racial things to talk
Yeah,
about for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Michael will address those.
Yes.
It was it was a little cringy at points.
Those
Well,
damn
yes,
frogs.
because in 1971 everyone was so woke.
Yeah, right.
Especially the cops.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like the whole first act was just these cops going into black businesses and just roughing people up.
Seriously,
Can
yeah.
I just a quick thing though, because it's not like just it's like the car chase scene of cinema. Like many people still consider it like it is what that movie is like known for, almost like to its detriment, because it's like this movie won Best Picture, it won Best Editing,
Wow.
Best Directing. Gene Hackman won Best Actor. It killed in the Oscars,
Wow.
but it's just henceforth been known as being apparently super racist and a great car chase scene.
I thought the car chase scene was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought that was the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
The movie's not racist. It's
No.
It's
portraying.
No, it's not racist. That was a joke. Because you were
Okay.
saying like, no,
Good
I
one.
mean,
Depending on how
I would say by the standards of its time, like not at all. Has anyone seen 48 Hours? That movie is like crazy.
don't know it.
Okay, yeah.
Well, what was the question you had about the plot, though, Edgar? Just so
Okay,
we can
so-
straighten that out.
A lot of the viewers also haven't seen the movie.
Right,
I'm
right.
going to assume. So it's about
Idiots.
2 undercover cops that are trying to.
I don't know if they're undercover.
Yeah, they're not really undercover.
They're just.
They're
But-
badly doing a poor job being undercover.
Well, I don't think they're in disguise, like undercover. They're just like
They're
walking
tailing.
down the street, pretending they're just looking at soup cans. And
Well, they're in the
storefront or something.
Oh,
narcotics
that
bureau.
undercover. Got you.
Yeah, they're
narcotics
trying
bureau,
to-
In New
trying to
York.
bust-
Yeah.
They're trying to bust the.
Yeah.
They're trying to
Do
bust
they know
a
it's
giant
drug-
drug deal.
Do they know it's drugs off the bat?
So the sound in this
I-
movie was terrible. And
What?
I,
Wait, whoa.
I couldn't tell
Where-
what was
can
happening.
we stay on one
I
subject?
just want to say that because of that, I couldn't tell
Oh,
what was
okay, fair.
happening.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I don't think I won Best Sound, but I'm not sure if that was a category in the Oscars at the time.
It
Oh,
probably
yeah.
wouldn't have.
Yeah, no, the sound was the dialogue at times was it was indiscernible.
It was
unintelligible.
And as the person here who's an anti-subtitle advocate, I could have used subtitles in this movie.
Yeah.
Probably the first time I've ever thought that.
Wow.
But it was like the mixing was like, you could hear like papers shuffling and like ice clinking around in glasses and like footsteps, but you couldn't hear the dialogue.
I make at least 2 junk collections at that far table over in the corner.
Court order's in there for the wiretap. Judge gave you 60 days on it. Tell Doyle that Muldrick and Klein will sit in for the feds.
4,795 pounds. That's what it was, 4,795 pounds when it came into the shop.
I mean, it's a classic cop film, right?
I mean, there's a drug deal going down. These cops
Yeah.
are trying to bust the guys.
They're
that
trying
are
to
doing
figure it
Yeah,
out.
drugs,
Yeah.
drugs
It's
are
pretty
being
simple.
smuggled from France into New York City, and these narcotics officers are trying to. They're just always like hot on the trail. They're always one step behind. They're trying to.
They're literally
Yeah.
like following them
Yeah.
through
And-
half the movie,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
And the,
pretending
like-
to be like it's like New York. It's always busy. They're like looking off, trying to follow them. There's like total of 4 dudes they're trying to follow at one point.
I thought it was. Oh yeah, it's the 3 dudes and Sal, right?
Yes.
There's the French guy, and then the 2 other French guys who don't know it's a drug deal, and then Sal.
So
right?
the French guys
Yeah.
are trying to get into the States with the guy who owns a sandwich shop, who's like a lower crime dude.
Yeah.
right?
Sal
That's
Sal
Sal.
Boca, yeah.
Sal and,
Yeah.
and his
Angie.
Sal and Angie, but Sal and Angie are with. They have their own drug lord dude
Right.
who's here in America.
Right.
And they're
Yeah.
trying to
Joe
like
Joe
they're trying to move up.
Weinstock, yeah. Joe
And in order to
Joe
move up,
Weinstock.
they're trying to do this French
Connection.
trade.
But it
And,
doesn't
um,
seem like they're on like a need to know basis. I guess it doesn't seem like they really know a lot about.
Who's
the
they?
Sal and Angie.
and
Yeah,
Angie.
so they're like
Yeah.
at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
So Joe Weinstock is like the guy who's buying the drugs from the Frenchman. Alain Charmaine, I think was his name. No, something like Charmaine. I can't remember his name. It's not Charmaine.
Uh-huh.
The like top French guy and the top New York guy. Joe Weinstock is the top New Yorker, and he's represented by Sal Boca. Weinstock is, and the top French guy. I guess he represents himself.
With his like sidekick dude.
The top French
The
guy
muscle.
was the beard guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, and he uses the French celebrity
Yeah.
to smuggle the drugs.
He's like a
in.
model and a photographer. Or no, didn't he say he was like a location scout or something?
No, he was scouting for a movie, is what
Right.
they said.
Yeah.
That was the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
To
yeah.
smuggle the drugs in the car in the Lincoln, right? That was like the whole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because remember that early in the movie they were like, "Why are you traveling by boat?" And then there's like that little some cute soundbite about like, "Oh, it's like the only way I can like have any peace and quiet," or what did he say?
Oh
I
yeah,
missed all
that's
of that.
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I missed every bit
It's
of
the
that.
only way the phone is not ringing.
Oh, the only
That's
phone
it.
is not
That was
ringing.
it, yeah,
Guys,
yeah.
it does seem curious. It was like you're like this like hot shot. Why do you need to travel by
Mhm.
boat? You know,
Right.
I mean, unless you're afraid of flying.
Well, he got to import his car, right? That
Yeah.
But yeah, but
Yeah.
he needed, yeah.
But he didn't say that publicly.
Yeah, he's like, because I need to import my smuggling car.
It was so that. So I will say at this juncture, when they were lifting, the crane operator was lifting the car out,
Yeah.
there was like this very ominous music. Which it shows to me just how like iconic the movie is, like how like us looking at that today, we would be like, wow, this is like so eye rolly. Just like
No.
I felt it. I honestly
Really?
felt like it was
Really?
eye rolly. I did.
Okay.
Just
Oh.
like
I don't
maybe
know that.
just because I felt like the
Maybe because
the
you were tripping
tropes,
on E.
they were like tropes
Yeah, well, I'm sure
Alright,
tropes
okay.
that were like solidified by this movie.
by this movie
Yeah.
is the point. Is what I'm trying to say.
That's not. Yeah, okay, all right. Because like
No,
you're
but
saying,
you
like
could,
a trope.
that is fair still to be
Sure.
bored of that, basically.
But when
even
a
though-
movie is like over 50 years old, when you say tropes, like you said, like a trope that like only after the fact, like you said, established by. So,
Yeah.
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 But still, it is, you know, it can still feel a little been there, done that, even though.
Yeah.
All
It's
those
like, man,
movies you
Charlie
know-
Chaplin and all of his tropes, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I paid a lot of attention to the music. The soundtrack, to me, like, it sounded like the first scratch track for like the Mission Impossible theme.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But it was like a worse version of it. You
Well-
know what I mean? That's one of the things I was just like eye rolly about. You
I
know?
like the score.
Oh, it's great. No, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying, I'm not trying to say I didn't like it. I'm just saying like it was such an early version of the idea that it felt unrefined.
And this
to
would have
me.
been before Mission Impossible?
I assume so. I don't know.
What year did this movie come out?
71.
1971.
71, yeah. I don't know if Mission Impossible.
Oh,
that might have been around in the 60s.
A
I don't know.
fun little thing, like just throwing is that William Friedkin, the director of this movie, who also he won the Oscar for best directing. But then 2 years later, 1973, The Exorcist. So
Hell yeah.
nice run for this guy.
Mm. Yeah,
Right,
indeed.
Yeah.
He was an asshole too, apparently.
He still is, I
Filming
guess.
this
Well, I don't know.
all-
I don't know if he still is an asshole, but he's still alive.
I'm
I
sure
know
he's
still an
is.
asshole. Yeah. And just in case William Friedkin watches this, he's still alive.
He's
I don't know
probably-
if
he's probably chilled out.
Yeah.
Tear goes.
Is that how I'll be remembered?
William Friedkin. I think he's like
People thought
almost.
it was
William Friedkin spends his retirement just like, what do people think of me on the various podcasts?
podcast of people talking about his movies.
I mean, that is like a common thing, though. Like, Kubrick was recognized as an asshole, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hitchcock, yeah.
Yeah, but that was part of his charm. Kubrick didn't care about people; he cared about ideas, and it showed in his movies and definitely in how he interacted with actors.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Then I find domineering personalities tend to be, what's the word? Rough, abrasive.
Abrasive.
Mm.
Abrasive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just please, get back to speaking.
But
I was hoping you'd use like a bunch of complicated words, and then it was like, what's that word? Oh, rough. Just kind of like you're like gumshoes, sleuth. Oh, you mean a detective?
yeah, that's the one.
I know the words today. Abrasive, right. Much like that episode of SpongeBob where he gets the abrasive side.
Yeah.
Makes him a good director.
I felt like it was very tropey, and I would like we discussed like, okay, it's iconic for that reason, like right? It was like it was a genre-defining cop movie, right?
Yeah.
So what made it genre-defining? I want to ask.
Going back, I always enjoy going back and seeing the origin, the genesis of all these tropes, because I've seen like most modern cop movies I've seen are kind of like, I don't know, not all of them, but like self-aware, like a 21 Jump Street or like
Bad
a
Boys.
Starsky and Hutch, yeah, Bad Boys, even something like The Departed or like
End of Watch.
End of Watch, yeah, End of
That was
Watch.
a fun one.
End of Watch hasn't really had those same tropes, but
Yeah, I think it's better.
I actually
know.
haven't seen that.
anyway, yeah, it's good. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But anyway, like it's fun to see the origin of these tropes that are mocked now in modern movies that you basically can't do sincerely in a modern movie because it's so tropey. But
Right. Yeah.
and you know, I think the movie worked for me. Like, you know, that car chase scene. I don't know. That felt like one of the most awesomest car chases I've ever seen.
Really.
And I've
Yeah,
seen
it's
all
pretty
of the
cool.
Fast and Furious movies. And yeah, I thought that was like, you know,
Those are steel death traps.
yeah.
You know that's actually probably dangerous.
This was like contained, and like you could really follow the action, and every time he like bumped a curb or like hit a trash can, it felt like it actually had an impact on like the outcome of the scene. Like you felt every hit or every grazing of something, and
It had
tension
weight.
was so high. And that shot of like the train on the track up above and the car driving under it, that was an awesome
That
shot.
was cool. That was cool. Yeah.
I felt like a lot of that stuff held up. Like I felt like everything held up for me except for not being able to understand what anyone was saying through the entire movie.
And I mean, it's an easy thing to say, but still, it's like this movie again, like came out in 1971. So I'm assuming like production like 1970, but like all practical effects, obviously, but just the challenges of making a convincing car chase scene, and it was convincing, like with just again, like what did they have at their disposal, like to accomplish that scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm not to be condescending, but it's very impressive that people were able to accomplish those things, and it's one more reason why practical effects, when done well, always win. It's more convincing. It puts you in the moment.
I heard, I saw something where, like, I don't think he got permits for a lot of those.
Yeah, a lot of it looked like it was guerrilla style.
Yeah, which
shots
I
of
was
people in the
going to
streets.
talk about. I just thought the whole movie looked very cool and realistic, and I love that shit.
Yeah.
I love that when it looked, like, when it's hard to see, like, if they go inside the club and, like, it's hard to see, like, the lighting is very realistic. It just looks super cool. It gives it a vibe, if you will, you know?
Yeah.
And same, I did not hate on the sound as much as you guys. I kind of enjoyed that. Yeah, it was hard to hear at times, but I was able to make out most of it, and I don't know if that probably is not intentional, but the effect I got from it was like, yeah, they're kind of like whispering to each other. You're kind of like the person outside, like when he's talking to, when the cop goes inside one of the clubs where they do the shakedown, and he sees like the two guys talking to each other. You know, he doesn't understand what they're saying, but he's like, oh, clearly that guy in the red tie is, you know, working for him, or, you know, it was just cool to see movies like this that they don't make anymore, like in the 70s, because now I'm like, in my head I'm like, yeah, if this was made today, be perfect lighting, perfect audio, perfect sound,
Perfect
you know,
clarity.
the clarity, you know,
Yeah.
which, don't get me wrong, I love that, but something about this, it's like, definitely has that gritty guerrilla style.
Yeah.
To go back to that car chase scene, it's like fucking cool, dude. Like bobbing through traffic, you know. It is over the top. It's a guy that is on a runaway train that just killed a conductor, but it's not that over the top. And a cop is chasing him. And I also wrote down lots more at stake, more plot thingies they can do without internet. So like walkie-talkies, internet stuff, you know, they can't track or anything. So it's like back in this time, it's like, boom, you literally have to see with your eyeballs where they're going.
Yeah.
And he got away. Shit. Well, we start again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we wait until they leave the apartment or whatever. They switch cars and stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed it for that. Whether it deserves the recognition it got for like all of that, probably. I didn't see all those tropes as often as you guys saw, but I enjoyed the shit out of it.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
I didn't have a problem with the sound. I guess because like
Yeah.
Edgar was saying, I thought it just lent to the gritty feel of it because it's a very gritty movie, and then also like New York, which is like in all 70s movies, New York is a character. New York City itself is a character.
Yep.
And it's always cool to see, like, New York City is so gritty.
Oh, yeah.
It's so gritty and grimy and gross, and it's just, ugh, like, it makes you feel dirty, but in a cool way. It's just like you're in it.
Just like
For sure.
So, and the fact that, like, this movie, it's, like, clearly shot on location, which is really cool. So, like, one of the neat things about this movie is it's, like, a little travelogue through gross, grimy, early 70s New York City. So that's kind of neat too.
Yeah, they chased
Yeah.
that dude to like to some random field and then brought him back to like the streets in this plot and then just beat up on him for a
Yeah, I
little bit.
know.
Jeez.
That's just
Yeah.
you're walking
But
by.
yeah.
Yeah, those guys are beating that guy up. What are you gonna do? Huh?
It's New York.
It's
yeah.
New
It's
York.
New York for you. No, I'll say like I think I was overthinking like the plot at the beginning when I couldn't tell what anyone was saying. The movie wasn't that complicated. I was worried it was going to be, and I was worried I was missing stuff. But
I was worried
by
most
the
of the time.
halfway part, I was like, I get what's happening.
Well, I noted that it was very difficult to tell what they were trying to say, like what the plot was, where it was going. But then 20 minutes in, they actually had that exposition, where it was like a voiceover exposition. You know, it was like Gene Hackman, like pointing out all of the players. You know.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, all right. We're
And then it's just putting
Tell what's
like the
going on there.
names to the faces,
Right.
and
Yeah,
stuff, which
yeah.
I have a very hard time doing.
I mean, it could just be because I have a difficult time like perfectly following a plot, but for me, like the movie is so much more about mood and atmosphere than, at least for me, like about plot details. It's more about just putting you like in this environment and this character, Gene Hackman's character Popeye, I forgot the last name, but like he's just a total scumbag, you know.
Jimmy
He's-
Doyle.
Totally.
He's not even an anti-hero. He's just a total
Classic.
piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like completely like just focused on his own glory, you know? Like, I mean, does this guy actually care about justice? Doubtful.
And we're
It's
like,
like
does
chasing
seem
down
that
innocent
way.
Like,
people,
does
he kills
seem that
another
way.
cop.
we're like rooting for
mean,
him.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think we're supposed to be rooting.
The movie frames his face multiple times in cast shadow, but with his eyes lit. And I think that's to signify his obsessiveness with this case. But it casts the rest of his face, it obscures it in shadow to maybe perhaps comment that it's an unhealthy, malevolent thing to be this obsessed. As the movie goes on, he progressively like starts getting into more risque situations. Like that car chase, he almost hit a lady with her stroller and baby. At the end of the movie,
I guess that's
spoiler,
a trope.
he kills another police officer.
Yeah.
Well,
he-
probably.
Yeah.
just out of reflex.
And the bad guys don't even really go away at the end.
Well, like one of the great movie tropes is how cop and criminal are two sides of the same coin. But when this movie came out, I'm assuming that was not yet an established trope, and that probably was very compelling. Like, oh, this cop, not such a great guy.
He's a
in
piece
fact,
of shit.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe the worst person in the movie,
Right.
or at least no better than the people that he's pursuing.
yeah,
I'm
the
pretty,
French
like-
guys were just trying to give everyone a good time.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's a pretty old trope, though. I mean,
It's
that
an
sort
old
of
trope.
stuff
That goes back to
to
noir
Rome
movies.
It
in
does
the
go
40s,
back.
yeah.
stuff,
I mean, I guess it's like degrees. I mean, like, what is this guy's purpose in life? I feel like if he does catch these guys or he does bust this, like, you know, drug score or whatever, this guy's not gonna. For him, it's never gonna be enough because this guy, whatever his problem is, like, it's not about achieving justice. Like, I just feel that he's a mean-spirited son of a bitch. Like, you
His
know,
superior too tried to get him off the case multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Like you're off.
Oh, I have a question. So that girl on the bike that he was following and then he had sex with, was she like a part of the pizzeria? Was she supposed to be like an in to get intel or
I
something?
think that was just to show us that
Completely
this guy
tangential.
fucks.
Okay, so it's just tangential.
Yeah.
He fucks. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you going to respect a man?
I mean, also though,
You're
I
right.
do think Gene Hackman's pretty awesome.
Actually,
right? Oh yeah.
you know what?
Hot,
I think.
hot take, Gene Hackman, great actor.
Well, that was great.
Yeah.
I think it kind of builds the character, like to build on the morality point. Like he's just out for his own kicks,
Oh god, it's great.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I definitely wanted to get on that train because I was having the same thoughts. Like he's clearly not like we got to get these drugs off the street. Like these
Yeah,
guys are killing people.
right.
Like there's no like like righteous justice thing going on. It's just like he's just like, I'm on this side and I'm gonna get those guys.
It's just like he's got a job to do.
Yeah.
Like this is my job.
Like I don't think
he's
he's
just a
like
hound
as
dog.
I don't think he's like as
the
I don't
hound.
think he's like as Machiavellian as say like Denzel Washington in Training Day, but in like
I
a
was just
similar
about to
way.
bring
He's
that
just
up.
he's just completely. It's about him. He's out for himself. Like maybe early in his career at some point he actually cared about justice or about social welfare, but clearly at this point.
The prequel to French Connection.
I mean, I don't know. He did cause a lot of collateral damage, and the bad guys did sort of get away mostly with it at the end. But I mean, they got the drugs, they got the money, and I mean, I wonder how many people those drugs would have killed. I mean, they weren't the purest thing, but pretty pure at the time. I mean, what would be the statistic? Like, I want to see the trade-off here.
Well, I think
Body
cocaine
for
doesn't
body,
kill a
let's
lot of
see it.
people.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, you gotta
I don't know
measure
anything
stuff.
about drugs, but like if you have clean cocaine, it's not going to
You're
kill you
gonna have a
unless
good
you
time.
do way too much.
I mean-
I don't know.
I mean,
It
maybe,
absorbs easier if it's cleaner, though.
You had Wes Anderson in there testing it with
You
his,
get
with his
superpowers.
kid. Yeah.
I mean, it is though not to. I mean, yeah, but bring it. It is that sort of that classic Machiavellian conflict, right, with him, right? Does the end justify the means? Okay, so in a way, he does win. In the end, he wins, not completely, but you're right. So but they get most of the criminals. They stop the drug deal. They stop the trafficking of those particular drugs. But think about everything he had to do to accomplish that. Like, do all of those means justified by that end? I feel like he did way more damage.
Yeah.
Trying to stop that drug deal than whatever damage those drugs may have done.
And for the dumb viewers that don't know what Machiavelli means, just,
Oh, yeah. I'm.
I know what it means, but just
Philosophical
explain it to our
trade-off.
viewers.
Yeah.
who might not know.
I mean, forgive me because what's his first name? Machiavelli is a very
Nicholas.
very
Something.
famous.
we don't need a history
philosopher.
lesson here, but
Yeah, no, it's just the Machiavellian premise that the idea of does the end justify the means? So if what you're trying to do, if you have to do hypothetically terrible things to accomplish something good, does that justify it? Is it okay?
yes.
So I mean,
Machiavelli.
he does a lot of
Yeah.
he does a lot
That's what I was
of
gonna say.
think about how much innocent people die because of him.
Well, yeah.
In his
But they don't even have to die. He beat the shit out of a lot of people.
He beat the shit out of
Yes.
people.
He ruined a lot of
That
people's-
mom with the stroller got sniped because of his involvement.
Yeah.
That
Another mom with a
Yes.
stroller.
That was a cool
Yes.
scene.
I'm thinking about the
The
amount of
sniper.
people who are
Yeah.
innocent in this movie that died or got seriously hurt, and it's probably up there 6 to maybe
Or their
10
nights
people
got ruined
max.
at the bar.
But most of the
He
people who
shook
got
all
really
the-
hurt were either cops or criminals, and they both should really have taken that into account before kind of going down that path a little bit. But I mean, there are obviously circumstances that push them towards those situations where they don't really necessarily have a choice, but you got to kind of hold people accountable. So I don't really see cops and criminals getting injured as the cost of that.
Right.
That's just kind of how that whole system works, and we kind of need that system.
But the innocent
people,
bystanders, yeah.
there were a few who got killed, but I'm wondering, would it be as much as the amount of people that would have died from, say, overdose or just heart problems
Right.
that come from the cocaine getting into their systems?
Heart problems.
Or killed by the cocaine there.
before
It does cause heart problems.
Yeah, no, it does.
Why is that funny?
No,
Wait.
I was there. It's funny how you're looking at this from a bird's eye view.
No, I'm with Val.
I mean, it
Val,
makes sense. There's a sort of
Sir-
calculus involved. in
Surgeon
it.
General's warning cocaine may
It's
cause heart
it's utilitarian.
problems.
It's like the
Yeah.
it's the utilitarian kind of perspective. Did he
Yeah.
actually did the ends?
I mean,
justify
sometimes
the
you
means?
need an angry hound that only knows how to do one thing to get
Right.
the job done. But let's measure this a little bit because we might need to put the dog down.
Yes.
You know what can
It
also
caused a lot of damage.
what can also cause heart problems? Grape drink.
I get a grape drink.
Oh boy.
Great.
And,
Yeah, I mean, he had an
that
absolute
boy
sugar
ain't
crash
right.
after that grape drink. He couldn't shoot the bad guy.
like divine providence. Like, I'm wearing my grape shirt. Like, for this movie, I'm so happy about that.
That scene
There
was
you go.
pretty funny on the subway.
That was
When
awesome.
He went in,
Yeah.
and
That
then
was
the other guy
hilarious.
went in, and then he wanted to check, so he went out, and the other guy pretended to go out,
That was so
Yeah.
comical.
and then
Yes.
he did it
That
like
was-
twice.
It was a playful.
So wait,
It was
yeah.
playful,
Let's
yeah.
I love it.
let's
That was
draw
like-
that out
like-
for the people because I don't think anyone's gonna understand.
Yeah,
what
try
we're
to
talking
describe it.
because that was very weird.
No, that was
moment.
like Cat and Jerry, a perfect cat and mouse game
Cat
going.
and Jerry.
So yeah, Gene Hackman, Jimmy O'Doyle, the like hound cop who like has a
Or
grip.
whatever it's called.
On the Frenchman.
What's it called?
What?
Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry, Cat and Jerry, Tom and Jerry, Tom and Jerry, Cat and Jerry.
Fat
was,
Thomas.
Yeah.
was the pilot, and they renamed it. Okay. Yeah.
So the gumshoe, the detective, Gene Hackman, Jimmy Doyle, is like chasing the Frenchman. He's like trying to get him. He's like tailing him as he comes out of the hotel, and like somewhere along the line, he's like the Frenchman is a smart guy. Elaine is a smart dude. He like figures out that he's getting tailed.
Like the head honcho.
the head henchman.
Yeah.
They called him the Beard
The beard.
in
yes.
the movie.
And
He's
he certainly was.
It
You
was a
gotta-
majestic beard. It was very
Yeah.
good looking.
Yes.
His whole costume design, spot on.
yes.
We'll
yes.
talk about the costumes.
The
Later.
wardrobe
Yeah,
was
yeah.
excellent.
Anyway,
We should talk about the
we will.
wardrobe.
But let's finish.
The trench coats, very classic. But yeah, so he's tailing him, and eventually the Frenchman figures out that he's being tailed, and it turns into this comical thing. Like, so he goes into the subway station, like as a bus goes by, so he like loses the trail for a second, and then he follows him into the train station. Then he comes out the other side, and so like O'Doyle pops out the other side, and then he goes back somehow, like does some sort of loop and goes back down, and then they're like in the subway. He pops, like the Frenchman goes into the subway, and Gene Hackman, like, you know, inconspicuously like goes in and like pretends that he's like just some regular guy, and then the Frenchman pops out, and so he figures out, and he's like rushes out, and then like tries to be all casual. Is like just like so many failed
It was like a
attempts.
chess match almost.
And then back and forth, back and forth, and
It
back
was a
and
cat
forth.
and mouse or cat and Jerry game.
It's a classic Cat and Jerry situation.
Them
But he
trying to-
finally got away.
I'm
both
never
of
gonna
them-
not look at you and think about that. But anyways, continue.
Both of them trying to be casual about it.
Yeah.
Which was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was so
Like,
comical.
I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Actually, I changed my mind
We'll get on the
again.
train.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get some grape
Actually, I
drinks.
should probably.
It
I
was like
should take the train.
it was like if you play like the old timey silent movie music, it was
Yeah.
very like funny slapstick old timey.
I'll put that in the edit.
It was. I mean, and that's one of the moments that I have to admit I was kind of rolling my eyes, but I had it in the back of my head. I was like, okay, this
You
is
didn't
like
think it was funny?
this is genre. I was
Okay.
rolling my eyes in laughter. Like
Yeah.
it was funny. It was very comical.
Yeah.
Just how many times they went back and forth, and then eventually, like at the end, of course, like O'Doyle's just like banging on the subway
Yeah.
door. He's like, no. Get back here, you Frenchman.
In a weird way, that's sort of like a microcosm of the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's
Yeah,
chasing
yeah.
him, he loses him, he's chasing him,
Yeah.
he loses him.
It's
And at the very end,
ultimately-
he still gets outsmarted and he loses him, and he's
Yeah.
The
like
whole
angry.
movie's a giant game of Cat and Jerry.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big Cat and Jerry game.
Stop saying Ken.
I will also say that is one of the things in just like in the literature about the movie. They said that it was genre defining and that the criminal got away. Like that. I mean, I'm sure it had been done before, but I don't know if it had been done in
No,
such a
actually,
blockbuster film.
I think up until, maybe not up until the 70s, but the Hays Code, I believe, in old Hollywood, like in the 40s and 50s, and I think up until the 60s, a movie wasn't allowed to end with criminals winning.
What?
Because that was considered immoral, and
What?
it would send a bad message.
Whoa.
And it does.
So, yeah, you weren't allowed to have that be the ending of the movie.
Hays Code?
Yeah.
Michael Hayes.
Can you like break that out a bit? I'm so curious.
I could look. Oh, my phone's recording this, but basically, it was like a big censorship code that was applied to all American movies when movies were
Whoa.
first getting started because, you know,
Like this was written down?
Yeah, it was like a legal document.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I think there
That's
were
Hollywood
ways
for
around
you.
it, but you couldn't. I don't know. There were ways around it if you were making like an independent movie or something. But yeah, so basically,
Doesn't get the stamp of approval.
yeah,
Wow. That's wild. I'm gonna look more into that.
yeah.
Can we talk about the lead up to that? Like
To which?
the chase scene at the very end, like the
Yeah, the
ending
warehouse,
and
right?
the way it ends.
Mhm.
I mean, I was thinking Blade Runner with the warehouse.
I was too. Yeah.
Yeah. That again in the literature about the movie.
Yeah.
That's very
Well,
iconic
And
moment.
Blade Runner is taking those like detective story tropes too. And
Totally.
So,
yeah.
you know.
Deckard
Yeah.
is a.
Yeah, well,
Is
it's,
it sex?
it's neo-film noir Blade Runner, so
And the Matrix. It's a Neo.
yeah.
And the Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah.
That
Resurrection.
film was brand new.
Yeah, it's a Cat Neo game. But anyway,
Really get it right on that one, huh?
well,
So wait, did you have a?
I
did
can't
you
No,
have
I
a
was
thought
gonna
about the
say,
instant?
Val, maybe you want to take the lead on this, like explaining or detailing kind of the ending and
I mean, the ending.
is that the climax? Would that be considered the climax?
In the warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
it'd be the closing action, really. Because the climax probably would have been the car chase in
Yeah.
the middle of the movie.
Okay.
I
Then the
think they
movie
should
descends slowly into its final part, and then the closing act is probably culmination of a small climax with resolution to whatever the story is trying to say. And the story is leading up to the moot point, or the futility in this cop's obsession, and how it is volatile and causes collateral damage.
Well, I would say more like what actually happened, like
Yeah.
the drugs in the car and the little.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
wait, can I mention real quick, when they're tearing the car apart, I thought this was so dumb. So, like, Gene Hackman's pretty sure the drugs are hidden in this car.
Yeah.
So they tow it away.
Of the Frenchman.
Yeah, the Frenchman's car. And they tow it away, and
The other
they're
Frenchman.
tearing it apart. Yeah, not the
celebrity.
Frenchman.
The
a
celebrity's-
Frenchman.
the celebrity's car.
Film
the
folks.
iconic brown Lincoln.
Yeah, so they're the brown Lincoln with the no headlights, and they take it back and they're tearing it apart, they're stripping it down, and they like take apart every little bit of it, and they're like, the drugs aren't here. And he's like, yeah, no, I looked every place but one, and we couldn't find the drugs. I guess we should give up.
It's
And
so
someone's
good.
like, how about we check that one last place? And they're like,
Listen, I ripped everything out of there except the rocker panels.
Come on, Irv. What the hell is that?
it
and
was
then that's where the drugs
there.
are.
Eye rolls.
Yeah.
Like
It's
yeah.
great. He's like, I tore that whole car apart. Well, there was one part I didn't look at.
But it couldn't be there.
No one would do that.
It's like,
Check the weight again. This car is heavier than it was.
Yeah, like wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
he's like, unless of course they were clever enough to hide it in another part of the car.
I ripped everything out of there except the rocker panels.
They
That was
checked
great.
literally everything there, and they were like, okay, it couldn't possibly be
Yeah.
the last place.
There's
What
just
was
one
it
last
too
place to check, but it
stupid
wouldn't be
to hide there? Were
And
they
it
like,
didn't-
it's so stupid
By
it
the way,
just
it was
might
like-
work.
It was great casting. That car mechanic is just like, yeah, leave me alone as he's guzzling his coke. He's just like, I'm tired. I'm on break.
For a moment, I thought the criminals actually hid it in a really clever way,
Yeah.
but they didn't.
I mean, it didn't even occur to them to take the coke out of the car when they got it to the United States. Like, got it here. That's all they needed to do. Yeah. No, that was one of the eye rolly things.
Yeah, they
for me.
could have
Just
put it
like,
in their
this is
pockets, so they
so
could ship those bags,
unnecessary.
and then just like hand delivered them like multiple times, and it would have been impossible to track pretty much,
Yeah,
unless
Val
they
was
were
saying-
right on their tails.
When we watched the movie, you thought it was going to be hidden somewhere clever, like the car was.
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
thought it was
made
gonna
out
be
of
the
it
paint,
something,
or
yeah.
like what, like one of the like
I was like, I did not
The
know that.
glass
It's
on
in the
to scrape
windows.
the paint off.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the car itself is
no.
cocaine. It's like that
Yeah.
scene in Traffic. The doll itself is cocaine.
there's a movie.
Yeah.
There's a movie that does that.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe
Wow.
this was what
Yeah,
inspired
like
it.
Tower Heist when the car is made of gold.
Yeah.
Oh my
Anyone
God.
see that movie?
That
It's
was
not very
dumb.
good.
Yeah, it was fucking stupid.
Okay, so the end scene. Okay.
Describe it.
After
They-
that part.
I definitely think that it's worth mentioning that they like go. So they got the drugs, they got the most of the perps, most of them, but the Frenchman goes into this like dark warehouse, right? And Gene Hackman obsessively follows him.
But he lets them he puts the drugs back, like, here you go, like...
Oh, so you want to talk about
just
that?
the lead up, because it's like,
so,
they
want to let the deal go down.
They planned
it. Edgar's talking about, they tore the whole car down, found the drugs, but then they put the drugs back so that the drug deal could go down and they could have all the perps in the same place, right? Yeah, good cop work for sure. And it was the real stuff too. They checked it.
I know they did the thing, the trope.
They
probably
did the
established in this movie.
Yes,
established by this movie.
So
it could have been.
So
Yeah,
the same, like for our audience.
I was
like,
really hoping
for our audience, like, the big payoff of this movie, all due respect to the chase scene, is that this movie had the best movie trope of all. The testing the drugs movie trope.
But without the licking.
Where you take
Yeah,
a bag
like
of cocaine
that,
and you cut it open with a knife and then
A
you
cool
taste
knife.
it.
Okay, let's taste some drugs. Hooker's got a bag of white powder in his hand. Spears it open with a pocket knife.
Party time.
Takes his little pinky in the powder, and he touches it gently on his tongue.
I didn't have anything to do with all this.
You mean it's heroin?
That's PCP.
This ain't sugar. Road opium. Raw opium.
You got anything good in there or what? Is it good? Bye-bye, dickhead.
What if it's cyanide?
And they didn't taste it
Right.
in this movie. They had Wes Anderson
Actually
with
tested
his
it.
chemicals,
Like,
but yeah.
smart people.
But they even like did the thing. It was like there was like a dramatic build. It was like pulls out the knife. I got the special knife.
Yeah. Which is the exact thing that happened in the other French
In
movie that we
Nutland, yeah.
watched.
We should find out the first movie that did that.
I would love to find that out.
The
I think the
knife.
French really like Coke.
Yeah.
And then they're waiting for it to turn purple. They're like, purple means drugs.
That's it. And there was, of course, the grape drink reference.
Yeah.
I get a grape drink.
So the drug deal goes down. The cops like chase them all down. There's a big gunfight. It's epic. It's great. It's iconic,
And
right?
they make a U-turn, which the
Oh my God.
That
Yeah.
was crazy. That was
So funny.
They pull up and there's like a giant barricade of cop cars, and the
You're
cops are like,
surrounded.
"We got you," and then they just turn around. And leave.
Oh, this car goes in reverse.
No!
Ah, damn.
Like not like a just for us payoff, but an actual like real movie payoff. It's I think it's the iconic shot of the movie. It's when Gene Hackman when they run up against the faulty barricade, the not so smart barricade, and then Gene Hackman looks at the Frenchman, right? The Frenchman who when they were playing the what's it called? Yeah, the cat and
Jerry
no, not
game.
cat and Jerry, the cat and mouse game, going in and out of the train. And then, like, the Frenchman bests him, and then he does a little bye-bye to him. And then it's that great payoff. He's like, gotcha, bitch. Like, he waves back at him.
Yeah, but he didn't
That's
get
really
it.
cool. But then, he
So didn't get it.
Yeah.
Even though there's no excuse.
Yeah.
There's no excuse at all.
How could cops not have any
Threw his hat on
concept?
the
No, but how could police officers not have
That's another great trope.
have any
When he gets away in the subway, he like throws his hat down.
It's
Like,
they blocked the road in front of him, and it's like we just didn't have any contingency plan for what if they just turned their car the other direction.
But he throws it in reverse.
They didn't think French cars had that.
Should have taken that gear out of the car.
For sure, they really botched that finale. I think this speaks to the detective, or maybe this was just unintentional and it was just dumb. But he was so obsessed with actually catching this guy that he didn't want to risk this guy running at the warehouse, which they didn't surround for some reason. That they put the actual drugs back in the car. They could have still caught them all red-handed with fake drugs in the car. The drugs were the main thing to reduce all of the potentiality for deaths and destruction. I mean, you could catch these guys doing some other petty shit later. I mean,
I don't know if it's that. I mean,
I'm not
they
saying
like
that
reeled
that's
them
what they
in, though.
should, but they should. There was many different ways that they could have gone about this plan that were much smarter, would have actually resulted in none of these guys getting away, but they didn't. It was just odd.
I'm with you. It was sloppy.
Yeah,
I feel like they could have
was
surrounded
definitely-
the
It was a
warehouse
drop
where
the
the
ball.
drug deal was going
Well, you know what
down.
though? Probably it was sloppy because none of these guys get any sleep. Like they're always just like
That's true.
They're always just like following these guys all the time, and like whatever sleep they get is like maybe for 5 minutes they close their eyes in the car as they're like the whole movie they're just following these people all
There's
the time.
scenes where
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
car literally sleepy,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you need to go and get some sleep. It's like, no, damn it, I know they're gonna come out anytime
They're-
soon.
And Doyle did not fall asleep. He
Yeah.
was like, "This is the third time these guys have rounded the block."
Yeah.
Right? He didn't miss a thing.
The
Yeah.
only sleep
Obsession.
he got,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
got was when he slept with that hooker, or was she not a hooker?
I don't think she was a
She was just a girl on a bike with red boots.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, anyways, that's the only
Sorry,
time he
Michael.
seems to have gotten any sleep. But other than that, these guys are severely sleep deprived, out of their minds. So I could give them a little bit of slack as far as their.
So they bad guys
Sorry.
Give him
drive
some slack.
the bad guys drive back to the warehouse, and it's not just our bad guys that we know. It's like
It's a whole
all of
bunch
their
of New York
homies are all there.
guys,
Too.
yeah.
So they're,
Yeah.
they're all inside that warehouse, and then they get surrounded by the cops come that were waiting by the bridge.
After they get from the bridge to the warehouse.
And,
Right,
and then
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
So
a
they have time
shoot
to
off. They
disperse.
can't even see. There's so much.
And for
shit
some
going
reason,
on.
they decided to go back to the scene of the crime. What? Like, now that I think about it, why did they do that?
They probably did that there because there was a secret escape, which is
Yeah.
how the guy got away.
Yeah.
And they chase him inside the warehouse, which is very poorly lit, and that's when Lex Luthor goes in there. Like,
Gene Hackman.
ready.
So, okay,
So, yeah.
all right. Can we pick up there?
Yeah.
All right, so...
It's just funny because Gene Hackman is like one of the great American actors. But you only know him for his Lex Luthor.
That's a
I'm
famous
sorry.
role.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
alright?
it is, and he's awesome as Lex Luthor. But he's like a great actor. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
His IMDb is really long.
I remember him from Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's right. He was in Young Frankenstein.
Alex,
He was-
continue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so, all right. I just want to paint the picture, and we can talk about it or we can just end. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But so the French guy goes into the dark warehouse, and it's like, it feels to me, and I think, Val, you'll probably hop on with me here, it like represents the seedy underbelly of like evil, right? It's poorly lit, it's dark, it's slimy, there's
Yeah.
it's leaky,
Damp.
like he's literally like trudging through grime. And Jimmy Doyle, goes in there, and he ends up shooting another cop because he thinks that it's the Frenchman.
And he almost shoots his friend, who's like, "Hey, what's up?"
He almost kills his buddy. Yeah,
That was Roy
And-
Scheider's fault. He was like, hey!
So that was totally.
Yeah, no, Edgar, you point out, like, how stupid is that? Like, somebody with a gun, you just, like, come up from behind them, like, hey!
Popeye, it's me.
But the point is, like, it's in this. I mean, it's like it's a microcosm, to use your word.
Yeah.
It's a synecdoche for the whole story, right? It's a small version of what the whole story is telling. Like, he goes into this dark place, and you can't tell who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, and he fucking kills his boss accidentally.
And his other friends like, "You killed them," and then he's all like,
He's like, we gotta
He's
move
in
on.
here somewhere.
Yeah.
That's his
He doesn't even
response
address
to
it.
killing
Yeah.
one of his
Yeah.
one of the police.
I really like that.
He's in
take,
there
though.
somewhere.
I mean, well, I mean, I'm sure everyone else, like, on the internet says the same
Well,
thing,
maybe,
you know?
but still, I've never heard that, so...
He's in too
I think
deep.
that's also
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
why
I mean,
the
well,
movie ends the way it does, because once he does that and he seems like he has no remorse, that's, I think, the moment the audience is to realize that he doesn't care about his friends, he doesn't care about good or actual justice. He just wants to get his man. And so he he goes back into the grimy building and gets lost in the shadows, and you only hear a gunshot, an ominous gunshot. He's lost in the dark.
There's a wonderful
because he was never good.
There's a wonderful Nietzsche quote for this, and I'm sure like everyone, like most people know this quote.
I do, yeah.
Definitely.
When you stare into the abyss, it stares back at you. It stares back into you, and it says, "For those who fight monsters, we have to." This is not a direct quote. For those who fight monsters, we must be sure that we don't become a monster ourselves. Yeah. And he ended up killing his buddy, like going into this grimy place, right? Yeah.
In the very last scene, he walks into a room and we.
Yeah, it's totally ambiguous.
Which I thought was super cool.
Yeah, you don't see anything; you just hear a gunshot. And
so yeah, he like goes into this distant room in the warehouse. You don't see what happens, and you hear a gunshot, and the movie ends.
Yeah.
I think it should have ended right then and there. I don't think there should have been a little
after story
outro of like.
Is this based on a true story?
I don't think so. It's like Jesse survives.
The Animal
House
outro.
5 years. Yeah, and then like. It's like what happened to them. It's like, no, leave it like that where we don't know if he killed him or if the other dude killed him. That would have been super cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Far preferable. But there's this like little outro thing.
You know?
What's that?
The ambiguousness would have been fucking
That would have been much better.
It doesn't remind you of Blair Witch Project. It's got like the Blair Witch Project.
Blair Witch Project's way better than this.
Except the Blair Witch Project didn't have the like exposition at the end where like Janie got married.
I would say way better.
So, like, were there no germaphobes in the 70s? That's what I wonder, you know? Because, like, there's, like...
You wouldn't survive, dude.
I would not.
I don't have time for that.
I'm
Give me my hand.
Like, as you know, I love, like, the decade of, like, the movies, but, like, nobody seems to give a shit about germs in the 70s. Like, people were just doing disgusting things and just licking their fingers,
Out of New York City.
How many times in this movie did we see somebody just, like, licking their fingers, eating a sandwich after they did God knows what? Gene Hackman's just like...
I was thinking
Gene Hackman's just like, give me my pants that I've been wearing for 10 straight days. And then...
Hey, what's wrong with that?
And then Rob Schneider's like holding up some, like, anonymous, like, underwear or panties to his face. He's like, are these yours?
You brought him that slice of pizza in a bag.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
It's like he gave him a paper bag and he unwraps it and there's a slice of pizza in it.
I'm confident my stomach could handle that type of
Hell yeah.
Oh, okay. Before we end, we should definitely address the race thing.
Okay.
Because like,
wait, do we have
half
to?
of this?
Should we?
I think we should.
It's 1970.
But we're woke, Michael.
Alright.
No, well, okay. So I mean, it's a piece of the time. Like, it's a piece of the time. Half of the movie was Jimmy O'Doyle and his partner, whose name I wrote somewhere, shaking down black people. Like, it's just like a bar full of black folks, and they're like busting into the bar. It happened twice. They bust into the bar and they like
Ruining
shake everyone
their
down.
nights,
Yeah,
all their drugs.
yeah,
on the
and
floor.
so like, I'm just pointing this out. I mean, it like definitely indicates the time that this movie was made.
You know, he is clearly a racist in the movie.
He's-
His partner is just an accomplice.
Uh-huh.
You know, he's all like, it's not just. He's like, it would have been anyone. He's like, yeah, but you could never trust a black guy.
Right.
I mean,
He said, He was like, you never trust a black guy. You can never trust anyone.
You can never trust anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, no, and Egger, I think that's an important distinction that Egger is making, because it's like, it's not so much a racist movie as it is a movie whose main character is a racist.
Right.
Just like Taxi Driver is not a racist movie, but the main character of the movie is a hardcore racist. Mm-hmm. So you're watching a movie about someone who's very much a racist, but does that make it a racist movie?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I mean, the movie could.
Well, sure. No, I'm not saying the movie is
Right.
racist. It just demonstrates the time period, though.
Yeah.
The black people in this movie were getting busted at a bar, getting shaken down for
doing
information,
nothing.
Yeah.
getting killed as a conductor of the train, and the black women who were performing in the bar.
Yeah.
Those were the black people in
Well,
this
also,
movie.
it's like it's pretty clear that because he has that one, his inside man,
his informant.
Yeah, as informant.
Yeah.
It's clear that this is just like he routinely goes in there. Like
Yeah.
That seems like
he's
a
used to
people
it.
up to
That's
blow
a
up
one-sided
seats.
deal right there.
Yeah,
I don't
seriously.
think the
Oh.
other dude is like stoked to be.
No, it's definitely one-sided. But what I'm saying is, it's very clear. Like the fact that he just goes in there and just without a care in the world. Like if they wanted to, they could kick his ass in 1 second. But they're clearly that's the deal. It sucks for them. It's like that's his one of his established places that he goes and shakes down people, pushes people
Literally,
around.
when we say
like-
shakes down,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
shakes them and beats the shit out of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think the movie's trying to show, like, right off the bat that this guy's not, like...
I think he's just an asshole.
Yeah, he's not, like, actually out here to help
Nope.
citizens. He's just here to do it to get a job done.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, and I mean the
if he
movie
hurts
the
an
movie
innocent
doesn't
person.
even attempt to like paint him in any other way. Like he sucks. Like right after that shakedown scene or whatever, he's talking to his partner, like Roy Schneider, and like he uses the expletive that we all know. Like he just says that word to him, like never trust that. And it's like, yeah, this guy sucks. Like I mean he's.
Which kind of adds to like the realism. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sure many cops did that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
No
like,
question.
Yeah,
I'm
especially
gonna be honest
how
with you.
nonchalant
The
it
entire
is
first
about-
part of the movie, I didn't
Yeah.
even think he was the main character. I thought his partner was the main
Me
character.
Really?
Oh,
And
no,
then
really?
he was
Jaws
the
guy.
like racist, stupid idiot, like sidekick
Oh,
who was
wow.
gonna get like
Yeah.
killed or
You
something.
didn't think
I
that
thought-
Gene
very
Hackman was the
early.
main character?
Yeah, I didn't even think he was the main
No,
character
I
at the beginning.
thought the Jaws guy was the main character.
Yeah, Jaws
Oh,
guy.
wow.
He's like, I
Wow.
like Jaws.
Wow,
guy.
that's interesting.
That is.
That's
yeah.
really interesting. So you were, in many ways, having a different, like you were watching a different movie than I was. in many
Probably.
ways. Yeah.
Well, are you guys ready for final takes? Or
Yes.
Is there anything else we should address?
We didn't talk too much about the fashion, but I just want to say...
Yeah. It was good. It was good. The 70s, like the
Early
big lapel,
70s.
the
Yeah.
giant lapels.
Early 70s, people
They
knew
had
how to
great
fucking
colorways
dress.
too. Like it wasn't just like the quality of the material. They had nice leather like jackets and coats and stuff and wool
I wonder
ones
how
and
I
stuff.
would have dressed in the
But
70s.
my God, the color choice. They had people in black and
Afro.
navy, and people with like a wasabi green kind of
Like,
thing
I
going on.
wonder.
It's like a nice accentuation with the like slate gray colors, and then like one guy had pink shirt. Like a couple guys actually had pink shirts that were pretty cool too.
Fashion boy, what do you
Yeah.
think?
I love the fashion. You know what? Like a neat thing about this movie, I just read like 2 seconds ago, was that it was shot during the winter time, so which adds to the gritty feel of the movie, but also I think adds to the whole look of the fashion of the movie, because
Coats.
the people are able, the characters in the movie are able to layer, and layering like really enhances one's fashion. That's why I hate summer for lots of
Layers.
reasons. I hate summer for lots of reasons, and that's just another reason why I hate summer, because it really severely limits what you can do with your attire. So I loved, the fashion in this movie is excellent. There's so many cool coats. There's so many cool color schemes and layering. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like back in the day, people dressed awesome and they stunk. Everyone's hygiene was awful, but they looked really good. So
It was probably
now,
worth it.
Now people smell better and have better hygiene, but their fashion is trash. So how do we get
Gotta find the
Yeah.
middle ground.
Yeah, and I like I like turtlenecks a lot, and there's some with like the Frenchman,
Yeah,
the beard
yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Roy
Roy Schneider had a
good
nice
haircut.
turtleneck.
Yeah, Roy
turtleneck.
Schneider had a nice turtleneck.
It was,
Yeah.
and I do like appreciate
Yeah.
just like as far as the classic piece is concerned, like the like gumshoe trench coat, like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't so far removed from like that 20s sort of image that I don't know if the 20s originated that, but like it was like the 70s wasn't so far removed from that period of
Yeah,
time.
people still wore hats back then.
Yeah, there's cool
and
hats.
the hats, yeah,
I mean, the
yeah.
hat and the,
The
trench
pork
coat.
pie, the fedora. I mean, there's a lot
Yeah.
of good. The trilbies.
I didn't like
yeah.
the pork
Classic.
pie. I thought Gene Hackman's hat
Yeah.
was stupid.
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
was
a big
kinda
fan of
stupid.
pork pies, but I think it actually looked good on him.
Which one is that one?
It's like the flat, square one that Gene Hackman was wearing. It was like a
Yeah.
little tiny.
It was
Well,
goofy
Gene
looking.
Hackman was just another reason why he clearly sucked as a person, because he was the most poorly dressed person.
That's
in the movie.
true.
He was like really the only person in the movie that at no point actually like looked good.
You're right.
Like everybody else had really sharp fashion.
He
feel like
lost
that's
his
part.
fashion sense when he lost his humanity.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's it.
I think
Yeah,
that is
symbolism.
part of what's being
Yeah.
said though. He doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. He doesn't care how he looks.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the sense of like his like physical attire, but also like what he does. He doesn't give a fuck what anyone thinks.
No, yeah.
Which I think is very much a part of his character.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's
I mean, I guess
why-
that scene where he sleeps with that woman is also to show that he's like not a family man, you know, where he's not married. He's
Right.
just like
There was a little BDSM interlude there, where his feet were handcuffed to the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some like
I like-
BDSM.
I like
But
that, like in the camera work, it was like they were teasing us. They were like, "Are we gonna get a Gene Hackman money shot?" Never happened.
Right.
There was the
There
was the
I don't
suggestion.
know. We got to see his man tits.
We got to see his droopy pecs.
The
But
hairy-
like, there
hairy
was
chest,
like
Back then, that was like
there was a
built.
team- it's so funny because like men. Like
Pull up that
men,
pic-
Slightly chubby, but like.
Indy, for this part, pull up
Yeah.
that picture of Sean Connery in the red Speedo.
Oh
on the
yeah.
beach. Yeah.
well, it's like like
Pull
back
a
in
bunch
the
of pictures of like what we used,
Of
they used
a
to,
shirtless old man.
what they used to think was
Yeah.
like, you know,
yeah.
the
guy's
hottest.
Yeah.
It's just-
What was
Husky.
physically fit back in the
Yeah.
day?
No, that's why like Bruce Lee was like such a god like back then because it was like I didn't know that his stomach could have muscles. Like you know, it was like what the hell?
A stomach can have muscles.
Yeah, it was just like what's going on? You don't have tits. What's happening here? Like,
Even his stomach has muscles.
yeah, it was just like men back then, you know, like
Yeah.
Gene Hackman. That was like considered probably like a pretty manly body.
Or like
I mean, it's a very manly body. There's no question of
William
that.
Shatner's like a perfect
William
example.
Shatner,
He's
yeah.
just like, he's just big.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say it's a manly body
Yeah.
because I could see that on like a orangutan or whatever the monkeys are.
A humanly body, right?
Yeah,
All right,
so proto-human body.
Alex, reel it in.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Final takes, guys. Michael, do you want to start or Indy, do you want to start?
I'll start.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, so yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I certainly didn't have a bad time. Couldn't understand most of the dialogue, which is a first for me. I guess I'm getting old. That's probably part of it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 on the VHS tape category. And for film reels, I'll say even though it was tropey, I feel like I personally can't fault the movie for that, just because it was the origin of so many of those tropes. I just thought everything about it functioned perfectly well, and there were some standout things, some great tense, I don't know if they would all be considered action sequences, but scenes of tension, car chase, and the subway scene where he's getting on and off. So the only major knock, and it's a major knock, is the sound recording. And there are movies that are older than this that have better sound. So I do feel like this is a fault of the movie. But yeah, so I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 film reels. I thought it was pretty great. But yeah, I don't know why the ice in people's glasses was more clear than their conversations. But anyway, yeah, that's me.
Well, my take is very similar to yours. I think I'm going to give it 3 VHS tapes because I don't know if I would revisit this again or if I'd be like excited to watch it again. But that doesn't mean I did not enjoy it this time around because I really did. I thought it was super cool. It's always fun. This is like what our 3rd movie we've seen in the 70s or
Yeah.
2nd,
Third.
3rd.
Just being there, Dark Star, and this, yeah.
Yeah, it's just really cool movie. The acting was very realistic. I loved the grittiness of it, and like what Michael said, I thought that was pretty cool. Like New York City at that time is kind of like a character, and it is always fun to see that character. And it's portrayed in different ways, but in this one, it seemed like very realistic. You got to see a really cool drug story with the cops, the good guys and bad guys. very entertaining. Super cool action scenes like the sniper, the train scene, and the car scene that we've talked about. So 3 VHS tapes and 4 film reels because I think it was filmed really well. I didn't mind the sound as much, but I don't know. I don't feel comfortable giving it a 5 on that department. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I have to say about it.
Okay, so it's the film reels that's subjective, right?
Yes.
Okay, I would give this 3 film reels. It's a competently made movie through and through. It does everything it needs to do, but it is quite dated. A lot of it is kind of boring to follow, not particularly interesting, imaginative. The subtext isn't really phenomenal in any particular way, and an unlikable protagonist can sometimes be not particularly fun to watch, especially if you've already seen the movie or know what's going down. I think it's a movie that is good for a first watch. It's a solid movie, but doesn't have a lot of rewatch value, and with its ever fading, I guess, quality comparatively to the standards that are progressively moving forward, I think it's just not holding up as well as it probably was at the time. In terms of VHS tapes, I would say 2. I didn't hate this movie at all, don't get me wrong, but it was very poorly stringing me along. I had to motivate myself consciously a couple times to just keep focusing on it because I almost wanted to look at other things and go, ooh, a butterfly. I'm a little ADHD, so it wasn't quite gripping, and I think that's a quality that I think that, in my opinion, really makes a movie a bit.
The butterfly.
Fiend?
The French butterfly?
How's that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, all right, this movie was my pick, and I picked it because it kind of hit a bunch of different axes. It's from the 70s, and this group has had great praise for 70s movies. It's also regarded as being foundational for the cop genre. And, I have to completely admit, I looked at the AFI Top 100 when I made my pick, and it was there. So, it felt like the right thing. I have to say, I was disappointed. I liked it, don't get me wrong. I did enjoy it, and I liked it. But it didn't give me as much as I was hoping for. I certainly feel edified, as it were. I feel enriched because this is definitely a piece of cinema history. And I feel like especially after this conversation, I feel like I have a better idea of why. And I'm also sure that there's a ton that we're not really aware of for why it was so groundbreaking at the time. Why, how many Oscars did you say it won? 4?
It cleaned house almost. It won,
Cleaned house.
So Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Screenplay.
So it wowed the shit out of
That's
it.
insane. Yeah.
There's one other major one, and sorry,
So
I don't know if it was cinematography. I do think sorry, this is your thing. I'll talk about it.
No, I asked.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it clearly, it was an important movie, and I respect that, obviously. But here's the thing: you put this up against a movie like Casablanca. Casablanca is eternal. That story is so profoundly moving, so beautiful, and the film is so well executed. This one, I think it won all of those awards because it did things that hadn't been seen before, or it was foundational. It broke ground, all that good stuff. But it seems to me that it wasn't in any like profound human way that it broke ground. You know, it didn't like do anything that isn't easily replicable, or it is like speaks to us on any like important level. I mean, there was the moral piece with good and evil being kind of blurred, and that's very interesting and important. But it seems to me that it won all of these awards specifically because of the genre. And I mean, Gene Hackman was great, all that. Okay, all right, I've said enough. So, that being said, I did enjoy it. It was cool. I mean, it was a cool cop movie. VHS tapes, 3.5. I know you guys don't like the halves.
No, I like it now.
I gotta bump it at least past the 3 mark, but it doesn't quite hit the 4 mark, So 3.5 feels really right. Film reels, I give it a 4 just for objective value, and I'm including all of the like historical importance with it. But again, it seems to me that I don't know, like I think even in the 70s, even for the time, there were things about the movie that could have been better executed. Like, there were moments where even the acting, like you could kind of poke holes in the acting, like, and one of them that like really stands out to me is Gene Hackman is across the street. He's like following the Frenchman, and they're like sitting down to a meal, and he's looking at them through the window, and it's right after he eats the pizza out of the bag, and he has this coffee, and it's trash coffee, right? And it's just really obvious, like, so he makes this face, and he like makes this very big gesture to like pour it out, which a cop would not do. Like, that makes his presence so obvious, but he clearly did it for the camera, and there were a few moments like that, they kind of just took me out of it, like little things like, this isn't a Kubrick, Kubrick would not have allowed something like that to happen, I think.
Yeah.
But
something that you would see more in a play rather than a movie.
Yeah,
well, for sure.
It was actually...
Okay. Come on, you have your chance now. I'm capping it off here. So,
keep going.
The sound... Well, no, I'm just about done.
Okay.
I am capping it off. Also, the sound was a big problem. Which, sound is a problem to this day, for sure.
Not for us.
Down with sound.
No, it is it's a problem. But, okay, anyway, yeah, so 3.5 and 4. On to you, Michael. Say your piece.
No, it's like, it's just funny because like this movie's like 52 years old. It's like, gosh, you guys are going hard. I'm like, what are they going to be saying about us 52 years from now?
Sure, yeah.
Somebody's watching our podcast. I don't know. These guys, they're not quite meeting the bar.
These guys are racist.
They're not quite meeting the bar of my late 21st century standards. So yeah, it kills me to be less than glowing in a review about a classic 70s movie, right? Because nothing quite tugs on my heartstrings like great 70s movies. But watching it, I was anticipating I was going to enjoy it more than I did, and that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy it, but I went in with very high expectations. And I do think something about this movie is that, and you made a good a point that resonated with me, Alex, that unlike Casablanca, which is a movie that is timeless, this movie is very embedded in its time. It is a movie of its time. And that's fine, but it definitely does not have the thrill that it was for the audience at the time, and clearly the Academy of that year. It just doesn't impact, I think, for today's audience or for any future audiences. There's a lot to appreciate and enjoy from this movie. I do think Gene Hackman's performance is really great. I think the camera work is cool. The kind of the shaky, kind of like gritty feel. I keep using that word gritty, but that's
it's a gritty movie.
It's a gritty movie, yeah. That unsteady camera work I thought was really cool. I didn't give enough love to Edgar. You brought it up, the sniper scene. That's a really cool scene in between some other bigger more grandiose scenes. That's a really, really cool scene. So there's plenty to appreciate in this movie. But whereas I was thinking I was going to be like, yes, this is awesome, another 70s classic that I would be happy to watch again and again, this doesn't register very high for me on rewatchability. And I know we call it the VHS tapes, not reels, tapes category. I look at it like, as far as like in my mind, I think like how rewatchable. Like that's what it means, like my enjoyment. Like, do I want to go back and watch this movie again? It pains me to say this. I could probably never watch this movie again, and I hate saying that. I think it's a very well-made movie. I think it's my favorite part of the movie where I might be willing to watch it again is just, let's just see what New York City looked like at this time. And that's really cool.
Or the car scene.
Yeah, the car. It's just neat to see, like, this is what it looked like. Because in many ways, this movie is like an early 70s New York City documentary. I mean, as far as the look of it. It's all on location. Like, was any of this movie on a set? Maybe, like,
probably some of the interiors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it was mostly all on location.
It wasn't like a backlot, no.
Yeah, for at the time, like a big production to be all on location, that's pretty neat. But yeah, because it's just not that rewatchable for me. There are aspects that I enjoy. This is brutal, but I'm gonna give it 3. I want to give it more than that, but I can't go. I can't give it like a mean-spirited Val score, but I can't give it like a. But I can't give it a.
His face.
But I can't give it a rose-colored lens Alex score either.
Okay.
That's
appropriate.
I don't occupy I don't have the high ground. Anakin, I do not have the high ground. I don't have the middle guy. I'm taking the middle ground 3 on the VHS tapes. As far as for film reels, like I respect very much the look of this movie, and I'm inclined to not just disregard if not just like the Academy at the time, but this movie is hailed by film scholars, like it is preserved. I'm not saying me. I'm just saying like it's preserved in the Library of Congress. Like it's a noteworthy movie. It's so I given that I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 for the film reels. Man, I'm bummed I didn't enjoy watching it more.
Yeah,
it's still very, very fine movie.
Yeah.
Nice. Cap, are you done?
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank God.
Good episode. So, that's our season finale, and we will be discussing again themes for the next season.
Yeah.
Right?
Ideas, themes, motifs.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to see, maybe drop a comment.
Yeah.
Or 2, but yeah, we'll be discussing it. Yeah.
We appreciate you guys watching.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Whether
thanks
it's
for being
one
with us.
episode or all of them.
Yeah.
We appreciate all the support from you guys.
And please follow and please tell all of your friends
and family
and family and coworkers.
Yes.
And
and everyone you see on the
and
street.
sponsors and probation officers.
The hotter they
and
are,
whoever
the
else
better.
is relevant. Yeah.
Yes.
And if you know anyone who's never heard of BDSM,
introduce them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or anyone who knows about BDSM but hasn't checked out our channel yet.
Or
if you're just curious about it.
Yeah, if you're curious. Yeah.
Anyone who's wondering what BDSM is.
Yeah.
Send them our way.
Yeah. We'll really take
This
anyone.
is it.
The long-term goal is when somebody searches BDSM, we're one of the first things that pops up. But that's the long-term goal.
Hooray for BDSM.
Yeah.